complexity today is very different than complexity even 3 years ago. What once was a few retailers offering retail media in a few channels by a few technology suppliers has really mushroomed into retail media being supported by all retail categories, by lots of retailers in those categories. And more channels have activated, ranging from sponsored search, on-site display, but now increasingly in-store display, in-store radio, as well as digital out of home near the store. So from a supplier standpoint, looking at that complexity, it's frequent that a retailer will have 8 or 9, even 10 different ways to work with them to buy their retail media. They can't often buy it holistically. And that creates complications for the supplier. And complication often means cost. It also complicates the reporting on the back end. To get a consolidated report is difficult if you have multiple providers. And so that complexity is creating unique challenges for retailers who have been in this space for a long time, who now need to go on to phase 2, which is simplifying their execution to make it easier for their suppliers to invest in them. One adage might be that the easiest person to work with will get a disproportionate share of dollars. Of course, that comes with some caveats. You still have to have the table stakes of great reporting on the back end to show the validity of the retail media, great technology partners for proper execution and great consumer experiences. But that complexity that I just described creates unique challenges for retailers and suppliers. And what we really preach to our customers and our clients is make it as easy as possible. Think about the supplier experience, reduce the amount of time, reduce the number of front doors, consolidate the reports, and make it as easy as possible while being full featured.
It's interesting. So when you talk to retailers and about how they measure success, what kinds of advice do you offer them as far as how they can be successful when working with media buyers, advertisers, brands, et cetera?
Yeah, one of the key ways, one of the key things that drove retail media's creation and eventual rapid adoption and growth that we see today is the presence of data that retailers have, and the use of their data, both in the form of targeting, but more increasingly, the use of their data for just proving out the effectiveness of the advertising. And what once was table stakes, return on ad spend reporting, really needs to evolve into incrementality reporting, truly showing the brand that in the absence of this media, here's the sales level. With the media, here's the incremental lift that was achieved. Retailers who focus on the retailer data plumbing and the consolidation of that data into a central location to create really detailed reports that show the brand, the effectiveness of the media on that incrementality basis, and can do it quickly, really stand out and have a greater chance of success. Of course, it also gives them the metrics they need to measure the effectiveness of their various ad placements. So you get this virtual cycle, you drive more interest by suppliers, you get more suppliers to participate, you have better data to optimize your inventory to create an even better performance marketing channel.
And some of the numbers I've seen with projections of how this market is going to evolve, it's incredible, really, the opportunity here and the way things are going to grow. I'm curious to hear what you foresee happening in the next few months or year or so with the growth in commerce and retail media, and perhaps anything that's on your wish list for the future.
Wish list, lots of things in the wish list. I'll start with growth. Retail media's growth is being funded from a couple of areas. One is trade spend. Retailers and suppliers have a traditional way of working that includes a percentage of sales being allocated towards trade. Some of that trade funding is shifting into retail media. That's a small portion, let's say 20, 30% of the growth is coming from there. A lot of the growth is just organic digital marketing growth that's fueling retail media. And you also see some channel shift from TV, radio, and more traditional outlets funneling into retail media, particularly because it is performance-based, it is measurable, You understand what is happening with your consumer base. You have quick results to show you preferences of new product launches, et cetera. So, that's sort of how we see the landscape today, and how the growth is being fueled. It's coming from a number of areas. From a wish list standpoint, I certainly am wishing for and excited about the harmonization of the in-store and the digital experience. Pandemic aside, which drove a lot of e-commerce adoption recently, and it's still sustaining at a pretty high clip relative to pre-pandemic, it doesn't even come close to eclipsing the in-store experience in certain categories, particularly grocery, where we have a strong focus at Gig Retail in the US. In grocery, you still see 90% of consumer shopping happening in the store. And when you think of retail media, the definition needs to include in-store display, in-store radio, digital out of home near the store, the parking lot, the recharging stations in the parking lot, as well as the traditional digital channels. So seeing those things, those channels get harmonized and bought and sold in the same way is something that I'm looking forward to, just because it's an inefficiency in the market right now. And it's something that we hear a lot of brands are looking for, and retailers that we support are often looking for our services to help them in that regard.